Tonight in Flour Bluff, where there was a large crowd and a heated debate over the fate of the district's University's Preparatory program.
Yeah, students and parents packed tonight's school board meeting, pleading with the trustees not to get rid of a program they say has shaped a bright future for generations of deserving students. Yeah,
last month the board voted to dissolve the program during this next school year because it doesn't meet current state requirements, but tonight the board voted for a more gradual phase out. Our Taylor Alanis is just back from that meeting with more on this top story. Taylor.
Joe McKenzie, although they weren't happy with the decision to get rid of the program, students at tonight's meeting were happy that they would be able to finish the program by the time they graduate. But there will still be that question of what will replace it, and will there be a replacement at all? And it was heated. As one by one, students and parents made their way up to the podium, defending a program they say has made a huge difference in their lives.
I'm going to end up graduating with nearly 40 hours that I had to pay nothing for. And on top of that, it also gives you the experience of just being at the college.
The University Preparatory program was intended to help students who are at risk, will be the first generation college student, or who don't have the financial means to go to college, a chance to get there.
And for them to be able to finish the program means everything because of the work and the effort and the sacrifices that they've made.
UP accepts 100 high school students each year who can earn up to 60 college credit hours before they even graduate. School board members voted 5-2 in favor of phasing out the program and letting students already enrolled finish it. The board says they intend to put in place a similar program under a new name.
There will be a new program that will allow kids to earn just as many college credit hours, if not more, except it won't be open for 290 kids in UP. It will be open to every Flour Bluff student.
But parents and students say they want to know what that means.
There hasn't been a lot of clarity on that, and while it's not going to truly affect me, I have a younger sister.
Students who attended say the UP program gave them opportunities they wouldn't normally have.
Even at a discounted rate, dual credit and AP tests and everything may not be good enough because people still can't afford things at a discounted rate.
And in the near future, the school board will discuss the details about what a similar program will mean. In studio, Taylor Alanis, 3 News.